Hey, I'm so glad to see you again. Welcome back to this week's episode of Closed by Mo. My name is Mohammed. I'm hopefully your favorite YouTube host on most things real estate. I'm also a real estate investor and a realtor based out of New York. And in this week's episode, we're going to cover something that I think a lot of first-time home buyers should really be aware of, and that is the 5 hidden costs of home ownership. Without further ado, let's jump right into this. Now, before I jump into this list, I want to clarify by no means is this any kind of comprehensive list, but it is something that I think in my conversation with a lot of first time buyers, it has come up that these are things that they weren't super aware of. So I'm hoping this video definitely helps anyone that's either in the process of buying their first home or is looking to buy their first home in the very near future. The first thing that a lot of first time buyers don't necessarily think about that is completely a part of the process and definitely a cost of home ownership is closing costs. Now, as a buyer, you're probably putting down anywhere from 0 to 25% to maybe even a higher down payment percentage when it comes to the actual loan that's being issued. However, completely separate to the down payment costs are your overall closing costs. Now, closing costs can range anywhere from 2% to 5% maybe of the actual loan volume or the overall purchase price. What that means is that those closing costs will cover things like title search fees, attorney fees, loan origination fees, even appraisal costs, things like that. Those are all going to go into consideration when it comes to calculating your overall closing costs, and that is something that you as the buyer are responsible for, and not the seller. The second thing that is a recurring cost for the home ownership is property taxes. A lot of buyers probably already know this, and if you're getting a mortgage, more often than not, the mortgage payment or the monthly payment that you're going to be making is going to include a certain certain number or percentage of that payment is going to go towards an escrow account that your mortgage servicing company is going to use to pay your annual property taxes. But something that buyers might not be super familiar with is a lot of times, especially when you're buying like a new construction home, whenever there's a sale that's triggered, most oftentimes in the first couple of years, the town or the county that you're in will do a reassessment of that property's valuation, and that assessed value is what's going to factor into what your overall property tax payments are going to be. So if you're, buying a brand new construction home that was previously listed as like $10,000 in taxes, but now the property is being sold for millions more, obviously that might trigger a reassessment. Or when the next time the town or that county does a reassessment of their overall property tax revenue, they might do a reassessment of that property itself. So you should be expected to at least budget for a higher monthly payment when it comes to your property taxes. The third thing that a lot of times homeowners or first-time buyers don't necessarily consider when it comes to their overall payment for their home is the actual utility bills, right? If you're renting, maybe your landlord might cover some or if not all of your utilities, but when you own a home, you're responsible for those, assuming you don't have it rented out and pass that cost onto the tenants. But you're going to be responsible for heating, cooling, the water, the sprinkler systems, things like that. That is something that you're going to be responsible for, and that's going to be on top of the mortgage and tax and insurance payments that you're going to have to pay. So you have to definitely keep that in mind when you're shopping around for a home, because you don't want to overstretch yourself, because the last thing you want to be able to do is struggle to make your mortgage payment, and then all of a sudden you have extra costs on top of that that are just recurring part of any kind of home ownership process. The fourth cost that a lot of first-time buyers just aren't super, I would say, ready to face is the fact that there's going to be ongoing repairs and maintenance, right? There's different comfort when you're renting out an apartment or renting out a house. If anything goes wrong, you can just immediately call the super or call the landlord, assuming it wasn't your fault that caused the damage. But when you own your own home, you are the landlord, right? So you're going to be responsible for anything that happens. If there's a damage to the roof, if there's a water burst, or there's a clogged toilet or clogged sink, anything like that, that's something that you're going to be responsible for. So you should budget a certain amount of your monies every single month towards maybe a repair or maintenance account that you can just keep and use from that account when it comes to actually spending on any ongoing repairs of the home. This isn't to be confused with like big remodeling projects. This is mainly going to be used for any ongoing things, like let's say for example you suddenly need a new hot water tank, or the boiler stopped working and you need to get it serviced, and that's going to cost you a couple of $100 right out of the gate. The fifth and final cost a lot of homeowners or new first-time buyers don't necessarily consider are homeowner association dues. I've seen HOA fees go, range anywhere from a couple of $100 to a couple of $1,000, especially in New York City, especially when you're looking at co-ops and condos that have monthly maintenance fees. those are things that are absolutely going to be necessary for you to pay. And in instances, HOA boards have also placed liens on properties where the owner just didn't refuse to pay for the HOA dues. So those are the 5 hidden costs of home ownership when it comes to buying your first property that you should definitely keep in mind. If you have any questions, of course, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. I respond to all phone calls, all DMs, all texts, all comments as well. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.